Yo, man, what's up? Welcome to another episode of AutisHim, Black Fathers and Autism. I am one of your hosts, Tyrone. I got my brothers next to me, Nick, Lonnie, Trav. Yo, people, are you paying attention? We got a good one for today, man. We got a really good one of our brothers in the fathers group. This man has served 4.5 years in the USMC as a 3043 supply administrator. He is currently working as a senior implementation consultant with Tyler Technologies. He's been doing that for about 17 years and going on 18 this coming December. He is one of our brothers, man. Man, I can't wait to get this conversation going. Give it up for Travis Boyd, a.k.a. T. Boyd. Give it up for him. Give it up for him. Boy. So, man, T-Void, man, first of all, we want to thank you for coming on to the show, man. I know this is going to be a really, really good conversation. So what I usually do, man, I start off with one of the obvious questions because you are a father with kids on the spectrum. I want to just kind of start from the beginning, man. You know, you have multiple kids on the spectrum. When you first find out, let's start with the first one. When you first found out that one of your kids is on the spectrum, man, what was the emotion like? What was the conversation like with you and your wife, man? What was going on through your head?
Got you. So the first one would have been my firstborn son. He'll be 15 Saturday. So when he was going to school and they were noticing developmental delays and everything, and that's what kind of prompted everything. The developmental delays, how he was doing kindergarten. He repeated kindergarten twice. I think we even did pre-K twice because we was like, got to give him that time to kind of catch up. But when we first got that diagnosis, the first thing was denial. And mainly that was because of, at that time, my faith. And being the son of a pastor and a minister, it was like, no, this ain't it. We gonna pray this away. We gonna pray about this. This ain't gonna be. And then I think after denial, when I finally started to accept it, it was guilt. And the guilt that I had was because I know how stern or strict I can be as far as a father, and the way I was disciplined or the way I was reared being disciplined, I was following those footsteps. And finding out that he is autistic was like, dang, I should have been thinking more about how I said this to them or how I yelled at him. So that parental guilt came in. Then we started getting services and stuff for him. And then it was like, we stopped like everything cold turkey. And it was my second son started having developmental delays. He's 13. So when we started seeing developmental delays in him, it was like, okay, by the time we saw his, we already had my daughter who's 11. And I think we had our youngest already, Caden, who was 8. So, or who is 8 now. So by the time we got Bryson and that diagnosis, we got Aaron checked again. And that was just like the nail in the coffin. Like, here is your solid diagnosis. He is autistic. Your middle son, he's autistic with ADHD. Your middle son has ADHD. They didn't detect anything in my daughter. And then my youngest son, autistic. And so it's like at that point in time, the first one that hit was the denial, the guilt, and then starting to accept it. But then it's when all of them hit. And it was just all over again, just that feeling of, dang, I wish I would have done something different as a dad versus what I was doing. So, yeah, that was a long story, but yeah, that's pretty much what it was.
No, absolutely, man. Kind of diving a little bit into that. When, you found out all these different diagnoses at different times in your life, what was the emotion status of like you and your wife? Like, what kind of conversations were you guys having, from the first one all the way into the last one?
Okay, so going back that far is back to like my religious beliefs at that time. I keep saying that because we're kind of in the middle of deconstructing right now, like unlearning and really reading and understanding things for ourselves. But anyway, that's a whole nother story. But our conversations then there was a lot of animosity between the both of us, because it's like at first you want to blame. Oh, well, it's because you did this, or you didn't feed him this, you didn't feed them that. You won't do. You just put it. You know what I'm saying? It was that coming along. And I was like, okay, I still wasn't believing. When we started to accept it more, and after we got our last son diagnosed, that's when my wife also went and got diagnosed and was diagnosed with ADHD. And it was like, when that happened, a light bulb went off. And I went back all 20 years we had been married. And I was like, different things we used to argue about just made sense now. Cause it's like, dang, she won't lie. She wasn't really thinking about nothing at that time. She wasn't doing this or doing that. And then between she and I, the first couple of years of the whole children being diagnosed was a little rough. But when she got her diagnosis, that's when things started making sense. But then I had another hit when I got diagnosed, and it was diagnosed with autism, depression, and OCD. So all of that at once. So I was like, what am I going? I think, let's see, I'm 43 now. This is like around my 40th birthday. So this is still kind of fresh, about 3-4 years ago that all this started happening. So finding out myself being autistic, that one hit again of first the denial. Like I didn't want to believe it, didn't want to accept it. It's like, no, but then when I was doing the research and the reading and how it gets passed down and all that kind of stuff, it was, okay, now this makes sense. And then adding in how my wife is ADHD and I'm autistic, I was like, dang, these past 20 years make sense. So now we're really working together and making a difference to more understand each other, understand ourselves as individuals, and understand each one of our children as an individual. So yeah, it's a road that is never ending. It's forever gonna be some bumpy paths along it, but I think we got a good vehicle we in now, so we rolling.
Yeah, man, let's go. The unity I'm hearing, man, I'm loving it. One thing I want to ask about T-Void. So each time we're in the group and we're meeting bi-weekly, you're always on the road, for work, and I respect that because you bringing your family with you too. So one thing I'm curious about, and for those listening who maybe could take some advice from you, one thing I try to work on with my family as well is different routine switches and understanding what's needed to proceed forward. So, what type of procedures or routines do you and your family usually partake in when it comes to traveling for your work procedures?
Ooh, for traveling. So with Tile Technologies, I'm a senior implementation consultant. So I travel to sites. Either I'm working from home, doing meetings from home, lots of team meetings, or I'm on site with the client, working with a client. And we were going just back and forth, back and forth, back and forth to Winston-Salem. So that's not too bad. Winston-Salem. And the first couple of trips, I said I should go back to, we took our children out of school and they started homeschooling. We've been homeschooling almost 2 years now. So my wife is typically handling all the homeschool stuff. So when we took them out of school, I said, yeah, y'all are coming with me. So I can't have y'all at home because part of the reason we took them out of the school system was for safety concerns.
Okay.
In North Carolina, you a young black male, first thing they wanted to do is expel you. Or my son gets a letter from one of his classmates talking about I'm gonna kill you, and you don't even want to do nothing about that. You just, they're just kids. No, okay. I don't want to have to go blow up a school. So get my kids out and bring them with me everywhere I go. Now I know with myself traveling, I'm always watching out. So as a black man traveling in North Carolina, driving these places at night, I'm already high alert safety. So when I bring my family with me, it was the first couple of trips I think might have been to like Hickory, North Carolina. And it was really trying to get them in the pattern of make sure you got everything in your suitcase. And it was like having a list of things that they need to get with each trip. And I would say it would take us 45 minutes to an hour just to try to get everything done and packed on the van. As of our last trip, I think we packed the van in like 15 minutes.
Nice.
Because we had to establish, how many ever nights it is. Here's the number of underwear, the pair of socks, the shirts. And we try to keep what you wear, keep it simple. Keep the same thing and just put the same thing in your bag. Everybody has their own bag. Everybody has their name tag on their bag and their picture on their bag. So just in case, you know whose bag is whose. So just kind of putting those things in place with lots of labels, lots of pictures, helps me guide my ADHD children with, hey, follow the signs. And then my autistic one is like, here's your list. You have an exact list of what you need to do. and they'll usually kind of fall in line with that. Except for my youngest, we ain't got there with him yet. We working on that one. But everybody else is like, we pack up 15, 20 minutes, we can have the whole van loaded. I'm talking like suitcases on top, suitcases at the back, and all the snacks, and we in the van. When we get home and get ready to unload, it's a system. It's like we got to follow this pattern. And I think sometimes that's where my autism kicks in, and it's like, it's got to be this way. Just do it this way, and we'll be all right. And they're starting to see that, dang, daddy ain't crazy. That do make sense. If we just do the same thing each time, it works out. So the patterns, labels, pictures, and I use a lot of technology stuff. So of course, being in the tech industry, I've got smart switches, I've got cameras, I've got Echo Dots, I've got Google Nest cams, and all that all around the house. And I've programmed routines for everything. Like, I can show you. I program routines that kind of help the entire family with whatever we need to do. So it's like you got when they go to the bathroom, when they take a shower, when it's time to drink water, when it's time to eat, when the lights need to cut off, when the lights need to cut on. So I've got all of that in place where I can say number one is in the bathroom, and it'll say, okay, Aaron, time for you to get your shower. And he's got that audio also. So I'm trying to cover everybody's learning style. You have audio, you have visual, you have it's on paper or it's digital, it's both. Trying to cover all of those type of things where it's like you should be able to follow this pattern with some form. If you don't like to look at it, you can hear it. If you don't like to hear it, you can look at it. And we're getting there. And I think, yeah, with tonight being the first night in this house, I'm gonna have to start over.
At least you know it, man. Hey, you facing your reality, my brother. That's okay.
Hey, yeah, I'm like, I just finally got them. Like, we doing good now. The children have the Jack and Jill bathroom. So instead of one of them having to get a shower at a time, two of them can because they're in separate bathrooms. So I can cut all routine times in half already just because of that. And this was the first night we tried to do that. It ain't work out that great, but we gonna get there.
So I got a quick question, T-Boy. It's just in today's society, we have a lot of talk about what a man's role is, that providing that protection, how do you balance being a protector, a provider, and an advocate for your children because they're on the spectrum or have ADHD?
That's a good question because I don't even know if I truly have a good balance of it. It's a juggling act more than just being so balanced because I have my isms, my wife has hers, and then we got four other personalities that are completely different. Like each one is different. So it's almost like as soon as I feel like I'm getting comfortable with something, boom, something else is up. So I don't know if I'm either if I have it balanced or if I might always be on edge. So I do a lot of self-medicating just to make sure, I don't go over the edge. But yeah, the balance of it all is, I guess some of my military background helps with that, with me being able to compartmentalize everything. It's like I'm driving, it's the safety, making sure they're entertained at the same time. Because when I'm driving on these trips, I have my iPad up and we're going through anime, cartoons, and stuff. So out of my peripheral vision, I can see that and make sure it's not nothing inappropriate. At the same time, I'm driving and making sure everything's going on. So I'm kind of able to compartmentalize certain things and focus on this while I still see this in the background. And I can attribute that probably to being in the military and growing up with my dad being, a veteran, an ex-cop, inspection officer, and a pastor. So that comes with a lot of how you're brought up and what you're taught to do. And I know I'm fortunate enough to say, my dad has put out a great example of being that protector, being that provider. And I can't think of a time where I didn't have a good role model that I could just talk to in that. And I know a lot of men don't grow up with that. you got to look for an uncle. You got to look for a pastor. Well, it's like my dad is my pastor. He was also a police officer. He was also ex-military. So me being ex-military, and I didn't get into the law enforcement field, but just being in the church, my entire life being in the church is kind of, I had that pastor, I had that father, I had that mentor kind of to show me things that I liked about being a protector and a provider, and then also show me things that I didn't like. Like, I can't be overbearing, I can't be too protective. So like going back to that whole balance thing, is like, I don't know if I'm balancing it well, or if I'm just always on edge, and just it could be one or the other, like within the flip of a second. So that's a tough one to just kind of keep balance the whole time, because everything changes in a moment.
I wanna follow up on what you said about your family and your father. Had that been you having a diagnosis, your wife having a diagnosis, your children have a diagnosis, have there been any misunderstandings regarding diagnosis in your family, like with other family members? Like, I know you mentioned your dad,
Mm-hmm.
maybe your mom or uncles and aunts or whatever. Has there been any other like misunderstandings, misconceptions about the diagnosis? Because as a father with a child on the spectrum, we often have to explain to other family members, especially those who may care for our children, how to deal with our children. So have you run into any of that?
Ooh, man, have we? Again, my dad being a pastor, my mom being a minister, it was the straight, we gonna pray about it. We gonna pray about it. And I'm like, I don't think that's it. So it's like trying to explain to them more what autism is, what ADHD actually is, because they're both in their 70s. My dad is 74, my mom is 73. So it's like, I don't really think I'm going to change their mind, but I can at least try to expose them to the information and then show them the proof in my children, in me. Because I think the last meeting I told y'all, it was like just the last week or 2, 3 weeks ago, I just told my mom and dad that I was diagnosed with autism. And like, I've had this knowledge for like 2 years, 3 years, that, okay, I'm autistic. That makes sense. I'm autistic. And I'm just now being able to really tell my mom and dad that. So the the preconception they have on autism and ADHD, the first thing they think about um is retardation, or not autism, but what is the word? Down syndrome. That's what they associate it with, is Down syndrome. And I'm like, no, it's not Down syndrome. It's something that happens up here. So the way I had to kind of explain it to my dad, for him to at least see where I was coming from, he had prostate cancer, and he had the surgery, and now he's cancer free. So I'm like, so with that cancer, you didn't know you had it until you got diagnosed, right? The doctor had to show you something that you couldn't see, or you refused to see it, or you just didn't see it. So with the brain, with ADHD, autism, um, anything neurological, the doctor has to show you. You have to notice some patterns or something and say, "Oh shoot, why didn't my mind go this route?" And the doctor can kind of lay out, oh, well, people who usually go this route fall in this category. And it's like, it's not something you can just see and show somebody, ooh, I have autism. Or like, just like you can't do that with cancer. Ooh, I have cancer. No, you have a diagnosis. So you talk to the doctor, just like the Bible says, go see the physician. I was like, you say that in the pulpit. So that's what we did. We saw a physician and they gave us this. And now we're learning this other knowledge to learn how to better deal and even cope with living with that. Because that's the big thing, is just coping with all the diagnoses at once. Um, and saying we're not going to pray, or we're not going to look for a miracle. We're not going to look for something else to just change it magically. We're going to do the research and do the work to understand this so we can respond better. And getting that across to them is one of those rough roads. I think they're getting more open to it as they see my children. But it's like when they go those time periods without seeing them for like maybe 2 or 3 weeks or so, it's like starting all over. No, the autism never left. It's still there. So they didn't grow out of it yet. So that's not going to happen.
Lonnie, did you have something you wanted to say, bro?
I was thinking, you mentioned you recently took your kids out of school over the past 2 years. Can you speak a little bit more to how the school was supporting or not supporting your kids as they were getting diagnosed, and as we were in or out of COVID, going through that process, and how that may have impacted that?
Yep.
Was the school helpful? Was it not helpful? And tell us about that.
I don't want to throw down on the school system as an individual school system. There's a school system problem globally. Teachers aren't getting paid. They don't care to do it. You don't find teachers that care. My firstborn had a teacher that cared. So this is around 2016, 16, 17, somewhere around there. There was a teacher that cared, and she was a rare gem. She allowed him to repeat kindergarten twice. She was, very open, helping us get resources to come in and tell us about the classes and all that stuff. When we got the diagnosis, and we started trying to have the IEP meetings. And so I'm seeing all this documentation with IEPs and what y'all should be doing with my child. You need to tap in and come sit with them, or you need to take them out to another classroom. And I'm seeing all this stuff in writing, and I'm thinking in my head, and my wife was working as a substitute teacher at the time. So she was in the school system. She was seeing what was happening. So everything that was written wasn't being done. And I started to notice a pattern. I'm going to this IEP meeting. I'm talking to my child. I'm talking to my wife, who was also in the school and looking at that classroom. And what's written down here is not what I'm getting at home. That became a pattern. And then the teachers was like, they were just there just to get that paycheck and just to go home. So they didn't care if somebody was supposed to go out or if he needed a break. And I think one of the last straws was with my youngest son in kindergarten. He has a diagnosis. We're going to the IEPs. We're seeing this pattern. I mean, with each child, it was that pattern. You're saying this in the IEP, but you're not doing this. And I can see the evidence when my child comes home. I can see what my wife is telling me about this is not what's happening in the classroom. But with my youngest son, he pulled the fire alarm at the school. And instead of them, we need to educate about that. No, if he does it again, he's getting expelled for a couple of days. This is kindergarten. And he has an IEP plan. And he's already in the class with like 10 kids. So that's the first thing you say to me when he does something like that. And I think that was part of the straw that broke the camel's back for me to just yank him out, because the school system was not going to do for my Black children what I needed to be done. I didn't feel that they were as safe at school as they would be at home. My oldest with autism and ADHD, he's loving, very kind. And it's not a lot of Black kids out here. I mean, at least not in the school system. We're always the minority, right? So why are most of his friends white boys? Like, he had one Black friend, but everybody else was a white boy. And then we're getting invited to birthday parties, and never would I go and drop him off. I would go and I would stay, and I would notice things, how his friends act towards him. This was when he was in middle school. So yeah, I had my middle school. I had 3 in elementary and 1 in middle school. Okay. So with the IEP meetings, it was like 2 IEP meetings out. Yeah. 2 at the elementary school and 1 in middle school. And that pattern was the same thing we were seeing across the board. So, going to those birthday parties and seeing like he's the only one, and then he's looking at a white girl talking about, that's my girlfriend. I'm like, oh, hold up now. There's a lot more to choose from in the world. So let's pump the brakes, because you talking about something, you ready to marry this girl already. And I know how I was as a teen. Right. So looking back as myself as an undiagnosed autistic, and I'm going through hormone city, I'm like, everybody was gonna be my girlfriend and wife by the time we was in 9th grade. So I was like, I can't have him go through that heartache of all that. So and then not feeling that safety of them being around more children that look like them. You know what I mean? And I mean, we go to church, but it's not a whole lot of young people at the church anymore.
Mhm.
And in our community, you know, we have family. I've got 2 sisters with, I've got 4 nieces and a nephew. And then on my wife's side, it's almost the same thing. They got plenty first cousins, and some are close in age, but I mean, it's like outside of family, I wasn't seeing them congregate with more people that look like us because I don't even do it here in Pittsburgh. And it's people I graduated with, but I'm always gone and I don't be going out to hang out. There's like a few people that I still talk to from high school. Um, but it's like I wanted my children to have more of a familial bond, especially with how I'm seeing them processing, because them being so loving, it's like somebody's going to take advantage and hurt you, and I'm not going to be there. So at least if I can bring you with me, my wife is taking care of you. I know she's going to keep them safe. And I know if something happens at the hotel, I'm a hop, skip, and a jump away, and I can get there. But if I'm 3 hours away, I can't do that. So y'all got to come with me. But yeah, the school system just, it's, the teachers aren't what they used to be, and they don't care as much. But I understand why they don't, because the school system does not reward the people who work. You know, they cut out and fire over 100 some odd teachers, but the staff at the top is still sitting pretty, getting bonuses and taking vacation. But now the teachers are just like, oh, I'm gonna go in, I'm gonna get this check, and I'm gonna go home. Don't care nothing about the kids. They don't have enough in them to do it. So if they get some more caring teachers, if they can take care of the teachers and help them to care, because I mean, give them something to work for that they want to work for, instead of just, I just need to get this little paycheck and I gotta work the pole on the weekend so I can make ends meet, because it's crazy what they do to teachers. So,
You said something earlier too that I wanted to touch on
mhm.
about having a father from the military, police, just the structure being strict, and you also going to military. It almost seems like that structure was what enabled you, helped you mask, helped you get along, be successful. Can you
Absolutely.
talk a little bit about that, the benefit of that, but also perhaps some things you needed when you were younger, looking back, that you didn't have because
Oh,
you were autistic, but you weren't allowed to be autistic. A lot of times we aren't allowed to be vulnerable. We aren't allowed to have problems. We can't afford to have these problems because of the potential outcomes. So can you talk about that?
oh yeah, yeah, that's a big one. My childhood was definitely follow the rules, read the Bible, say your prayers, be respectful. And when you don't, it was hell to pay. So it's like, there was so many different forms of punishment that could happen. And it's like, you don't see that as trauma until much later on in life. So with me being the youngest, I got to see my sisters get in trouble a lot. So that helped me kind of mask, okay, I know what not to do, so I don't get on their radar. So that was like a coping mechanism or something I could use to kind of hide that autism. I mean, not even knowing, I'm undiagnosed all the way up until I'm in my 40s, but it's like not knowing, that's why, man, I can't stop thinking. I can't stop, I say this because I didn't really mean it, but it's like I don't understand what's going on, but I'm also afraid to let that be known at home, because that's of the devil, or that's not what my Bible say, or you ain't gonna act like this. You got to give me a good name. You have a good name, you got to be you Landed Void son, or you everywhere I went, it was you Annie Margaret grandson, because my grandma was a preacher, very well known preacher. So it's like I got preachers on both sides of the family. Um, but having to grow up with that militarized, it was by the book, and then that religion, again, by the book, by a book, it was, you gotta do this way, or here's the punishment. Like that, in order for me not to get punished, I had to, I gotta not do this when I'm at home, and when I got to school, Everything conduct wise was Travis talks too much in class. I come back home and get a whooping. Travis talks too much, got A honor roll. Travis talks too much in class. Still got punished because I had bad behavior in school. So it's like, if I don't want to keep getting punished, I gotta act this way. And I can't be who I need to be or want to be until I'm completely awake. And so that's part of what drove me into joining the military, was like, I need to see if I can be me, but I need to get away to be me. And little did I know, you can't be yourself in the military neither. So I went from one hot stove to an oven. So it's like, I thought I was getting that, okay, I'm gonna be grown, I'm gonna make you see that I'm an individual. But then going right into boot camp is, you are no individual. You don't even refer to yourself in first person for 3 months. You are this recruit for 3 months. You can't tell me that don't make some people. We had a couple snap in boot camp where it's like, and me already coming from the militarized background, the religion, everything has to be, I fell right in and knew exactly how to be as a Marine, knew exactly what to do. And I ain't had no problems going through the service. 4.5 years, no problem. And it's like, I knew how to act, but I still never got to really be me, and didn't know there was a part of me that could be accepted just being who I am without having to put on the uniform and put on the mask. And, I always have to be this in front of everybody. You the pastor's son, you got to be this. You the daddy, you got 4 kids, you got to be this. So, yeah, you're the only black implementer. You got to be this. So, yeah. I think that answered your question.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, T-Voy, man. Going back to your kids for a second, because I think this is important, and I really want to try to understand it, because in my household we struggle with this with my son. And let me get to the point. So you travel a lot, you homeschool your kids, you guys are on the road a lot. My son does the virtual school. It's a hybrid situation, but he's mainly online a lot. And so one thing that we struggle with is the socialization piece, right? Him being around other kids, getting out there, doing what, being out there like a kid going to school, right? Being around kids all day. I want to know how you guys deal with the socialization piece with you homeschooling your kids and you being on the road all the time. Like, how do you guys deal with that?
We don't. We honestly, it's like in my, well, I have to give the credit to my wife who does the homeschooling, because I work and I come back and I pay bills and I do the things I need to do as a dad, and I fund it. And then we go back to work and I go work with a client, deal with crap all day, then come back and fund it. But she's doing the work, the bulk of it during the day while I'm at work. She's doing the homeschooling and the momming. You know what I'm saying? So with socialization, we travel, and I actually got a good story for that one. With the hotel we've been going to, we frequent a hotel. They start to learn who the hotel staff is. So in the mornings, they would go down and they would give the lady who cooked breakfast hugs. And that's how I know that, okay, they must be good people, because my children just don't go up and hug everybody. So I thought. So we were in Florida, and we were at a hotel, and right next door, it was just walking distance, is the Twin Peaks restaurant. I don't know if y'all have ever heard of Twin Peaks.
You know what Twin Peaks is?
Yeah,
It's like
one in
Hooters.
Michigan.
Like Hooters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I got my son, and I'm like, okay, we don't feel like driving nowhere to go eat, so we just go walk over here. So it's me, my wife, our 4 children, and my son about to be 15, bless his heart. We had a waitress. Yeah, we had a waitress. And we got to the end where I was paying the bill, and my son just extends his arms, and it's like, I just want to hug you. And I'm like, son, no, you just met this woman. So that whole socialization thing is like, they see strangers and we're still kind of teaching, you don't just come up and hug somebody you just met. I know why he wanted to hug her. So
Think of a couple reasons, huh?
yeah. I was like, son, I get it, but yeah, no, we can't do that. So I don't know if I'm really rearing them to be social because I don't consider myself a social butterfly. I'm a really antisocial at this point. Like I said, I have a small circle and it's like I'm just getting in, and it's like now I got my circle is grown being in the father's group. But like outside the father's group, it's a very tiny circle. So I don't look at, and because I talk to strangers on a regular basis, that's my job, is to train. So I have to mask and socialize. I don't know if I really want them to have to mask just to socialize. And there's very few places we've been where they don't have to mask. You know what I mean? There's not a lot of autism, ADHD, African American friendly places around here, and where we go to travel, it's not a lot of that, where it's like if my children are in there making noise, they're going to get seen as disruptive, whereas a child that's not Black is doing something 10 times worse, and it's, oh, just let them be kids. I want my children to just be kids. And sometimes I can't do that when we go to other places and I don't know the adults, I don't know the other kids as well as I want to. So like even going to them birthday parties, I'm like, and you ain't gonna be able to do what them white boys do, because you're gonna get in trouble. If they try to take you to the woods, you don't go. And with them being so open and so friendly, even me saying that to him, he's still gonna do something that's gonna put him in jeopardy. So I don't know if I'm for the socialization unless they can really have a community where they can be themselves. If I can find that community where I can take my children and they can really be themselves without getting hurt, without hurting somebody else, or being in any kind of danger, or risk of getting in trouble just for being a kid, then yeah, we might look at some social things. But something on a regular basis, socializing, no, you got enough brothers and sisters to talk to. Y'all all right.
Hey,
Yeah,
so
definitely.
I want to say this, man. I really appreciate you saying that, because I do think that being parents with kids on the spectrum, we want our kids to be ourselves. And like I used to tell the fellas, I'm never going to apologize for my son being himself. Don't even ask me to. It ain't coming out my mouth. So I
Facts.
appreciate you saying that, because I don't think people realize what we go through as parents with kids on the spectrum, because we want our kids to be safe at all times, that it is hard to find those socialization places that will accept them for who they are. So I appreciate you saying that, because to the people that's listening out there, I had somebody tell me a while back, like, why don't you just put him in this and put him in that? And just like you said, it's always that fear, or me or my wife are sitting right there making sure he's good, right? And I know that's not in all cases. There are some places he's been where we've been able to, maybe just let him be and he can be himself. But we always maybe like maybe a foot or two away, or we might be outside sitting in the car where we can still see what's going on, inside the window. So I appreciate you saying that, man, because I don't think people realize how much of a struggle that is, because we want our kids to be safe at all times.
Yeah, and we want them to enjoy life as a kid.
Yeah.
And you already, like, just saying this based in America, you already got a strike against you because you ain't white. You're just going to go ahead and say that. Racism exists. So I don't care who denies it. Unless you're on the receiving end of it, you cannot empathize with me because you're not on the receiving end of it. So there's a lot of people that just refuse to understand that racism exists. So my children are already going to have to face something that the majority of the rest of the world is not concerned about because it doesn't affect them. So that's one strike. Then so you're already African American. Then you're neurodiverse on top of that. So now, instead of it being, oh, Johnny had mental issues, it's Johnny is a thug. You know what I'm saying? It's like the way they word everything. That was another thing about them IEPs, the way they word stuff. It was like, you wouldn't word it the same way for Sally over here that's, biting her teachers and everything. But because Sally got blonde eyes and blonde hair, blue eyes and blonde hair, she's just, oh, she's troubled and she needs some more love and affection. But as soon as Caden does something, Caden got to get the hell up out of here. This little nigga is something. Like, you know what I'm saying? That's what they go to. So yeah, I don't really care too much about them socializing, and like we've had them in basketball. We did weekend basketball, a league, and we had our older three in it. We did that for, I think, one season, and that was it, because there wasn't a time that my blood pressure wasn't sky high sitting either in practice or sitting at a game, because he's one of the two black kids on the team. And we're in places like Bond Lee, Golston, the backwoods, Moncure. We back here where they still got Confederate flags hanging up. And so we sitting in the auditorium, and all I see is one or two other black families, but they're on the other team, and I'm looking at my side, and I'm like, I'm the only speck of pepper in this here salt shaker. So that part right there is always on my mind, and going out to those places where there's so much other stuff going on, it's like I gotta keep my eyes on not just them, but what's going on, because I don't want nothing crazy to happen. It's like, oh, he's going to the bathroom, I'm getting up going too. I'm not gonna let him out of my sight. And yeah, like you say, people don't realize how much that takes a toll on you just stepping outside of the house. And like I even tried to explain that to my family, is like, you know, when we're moving, I need somebody to watch my youngest. Just watch him, because he'll run outside and we won't know it. We won't know where he is. So if somebody could just watch him, but it was like, no, you'll be surprised. He'll do this. He'll do, like, you still don't understand autism. I'm telling
Listen
you.
to me. I know this.
Exactly.
I live
like,
this. Man, oh
yes,
my God.
I live it every day. Every moment of every day, you're living autism. So it's like when somebody just tells you, oh, you'll be surprised. No, you'll be surprised if you don't listen. Yeah.
Man, well said. Definitely. I'm with you guys. I'm big on I've been preaching to my son lately, like, hey, you're getting older. You have to find who you are as an individual. You know, as we grow up as kids, sometimes we find that, hey, we have to fit in with this trend, fit in with this group. I want him to know, like, hey, by the time you get to middle school, be yourself. Your tribe will come to you.
Mm-hmm.
Just
Yep.
roll with what you like. Talk about your interest. It's gonna all come, and half them people, like you was talking about earlier, T-Boy, you're not even gonna be really talking to them, to be honest. So I'm hoping that really sticks, man. One thing I want you to do too for our adult viewers, man. One thing I also like too is the fact that you're not shying away from the fact that you talk about, your self-diagnosis as well as the diagnosis you receive from a medical standpoint. So for viewers who may be having like second thoughts or just kind of hesitant to go get a diagnosis as an adult, what's your advice to them to maybe help them make that step forward?
Oh, one thing that I've had to consider always is the financial aspect of it. It's going to cost to do this. Even though I have health insurance, do I have enough to pay whatever that copay is or whatever to go take the test for someone to tell me something that I already know? I have to battle that going to do. That's what I was battling with, was I already see this. I know this. Why do I need to go? But going, it does kind of lift a weight when you actually go and you see that in writing, and it's like, okay, like I kind of knew, but then that self-doubt kind of goes away. That little bit of doubt that might have been left in there, saying like, nah, it ain't real. Nah, you just, it's just a phase you're going through. You're gonna grow out of it or whatever. Getting that diagnosis kind of helps take that last little bit of doubt out, so you feel a little bit better. And the self-accepting part of it, like really accepting it, that one, I think I'm still, I can talk about it now more, but 2 years ago, no. That's why I tell you, I just told my parents a couple weeks ago, and they were surprised. You thought I hit them with a center block. You what? You said what? Yeah, like I'm just getting comfortable to say this to y'all. Like I can say this to other people that I know we're talking about the same thing, but it took me a while to bring it up to them.
So one of the things that I've run across when I talk to people in the autism space, providers, teachers, One of the things that they have discussed with me is the lack of father participation inside of the autism space. So you run into a new father who just found out that they have a child on the spectrum. What do you tell that new father or that father who first hears that diagnosis for encouragement, tips, tricks, journey? Like, what would you advise for that father to do? Either if they're a new father just found out that they have a child on the spectrum, like how do you approach them and what would you tell them?
I was gonna say something slightly dark and funny, but I was like, nah, that wouldn't be right. So number one is really just to take a breath. Like, don't jump to any conclusion. Don't jump to look up anything just yet. Just take a breath. Read whatever documents you have about the diagnosis and reflect on the positive things you've seen in your child and not focus on the negative, or because don't think of it as this is my fault for feeding you this or my fault for giving you this or something like that. It's okay, they have this. Let me accept the fact that they have it and look back to see how that fits in with making sense of why they are doing things the way they're doing or not doing something that I think they should be. Taking that breath, accepting, and reflecting. Then I don't know if it's just kind of open your eyes more to what your child is actually capable of, because that's very difficult. Because sometimes as soon as you get a label, you get tunnel vision, and it's like, oh, they're going to do this for the rest of their life, or they're going to be this for the rest of their life, and that's not always true.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I'm like, don't be quick to jump to, I'm gonna read this and I'm gonna go to these conclusions, because every child is different. Your child could have autism and use that to their advantage in some form or fashion. So, and not to put a negative connotation on the diagnosis, because that's what I hear a lot of. There's nothing wrong with them. I have to tell my children that constantly. There's nothing wrong with you. So, having ADHD, being autistic, there's nothing wrong with you. You see the world differently. You process the world differently. Doesn't mean you're processing it wrong. Doesn't mean that you are wrong or that you are broken. You're not. The world is broken and we're trying to fix it. So one of the ways we fix it or try to fix it is we be the example that we want to see others be. At the same time, we create our boundaries. We're learning how to create those boundaries. You ain't got to mold yourself or mask it into something. Be yourself, but also still be who you want to be. Like, you got to know that part. That's a tough one to kind of put in words. Yeah.
T-Boy, man, we got to give it up for you, T-Boy. Give it up for T-Boy, man. Come on. Let's give it up for him. Hit
Man, it's 8:30 already?
Yeah, man. It's 8:30, man.
Yeah, man. Time flies when you're having fun. Oh, yeah.
Yo, T-Boy, man. I appreciate you coming on. We appreciate you coming on, man. And for everybody out there listening, again, there's a fathers group called Lead, Elevate, Empower. I think I missed the E in there some way, but you get my drift. It's through the Colors of Autism Foundation. And so if you are a Black father and you have a loved one or someone on the spectrum that you care for, please reach out to us on social as AutisHim. We are all socials. We want you to click that like and subscribe button. Please make sure you tune into the show. T-Void, again, thank you for coming, my brother. We really appreciate you.
Yes, sir. I appreciate y'all, man. Y'all have a good one.
All right, man. Hey, another one in the books, fellas. Another one in the books. This is AutisHim, Black Fathers and Autism, and we out.